Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Open Mic. What's Open Mic? Well, I'm glad that you asked. You see, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we save time near the end of the show to take live questions. But here on the weekends, that's all we do on Open Mic. We just take your questions. That's it. You guys dictate what it is we're going to talk about, and it's mostly about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, and all that sorts of good stuff. Man, I'm excited for tonight. Stylebender versus Yoel Romero. You guys know I'm a big UFC fan, so I'm going to be watching the UFC fights tonight. Very, very excited about that. I didn't get a chance to go see The Way Back. I meant to go see The Way Back yesterday, and I instead got caught up in doing some other things, and I couldn't make my screening time, my show time for The Way Back, so I'm kind of bummed out. I'm going to try to do that before the weekend's over, because I'd love to talk. I'm hearing really good things about it. And so I really want to talk about this new Ben Affleck film, say on Monday's John Campea Show. So you guys keep your guys' eyes open for that. Hello to everybody. For all of you guys in the live chat who are already joining us here, from Gary, Matthew, Listiller, Ronnie, Brandon, Omar, everybody else in there as well. Hello, and how y'all doing? There's already, wow, a lot of people in there. So, okay, let's not waste any time, and let's start getting to the live questions. And, well, you know what, before we do, I know somebody will ask about this, but just in case, let's do this thing here first off the top here. Of course, we've known for a while that Christian Bale is going to play in Thor, Love and Thunder. He's going to be in Thor 4. We know that. We talked about that on the John Campea Show weeks ago, so that's fine. What we did not know was who is he going to play? And even more generally, what kind of role is he going to play? Now, Christian Bale right now is one of the most celebrated directors, or actors, I should say, in Hollywood. It seems like every time he comes out, he's gets an Academy Award nomination. The dude is one of the great actors, and when it comes to the comic book genre, he's royalty. I mean, he was the Dark Knight. He's royalty. You know, a set of films that many people consider maybe, just maybe, the best comic book films ever. I personally think the first Avengers movie is the best comic book movie ever, maybe closely followed by Logan, but The Dark Knight, a lot of people consider that to be the greatest comic book movie of all time, and it certainly has to be ranked right up there, even if it's not your number one. So he's kind of royalty. So there was a lot of buzz and excitement when it became confirmed that he was going to be in Thor, Love and Thunder. And it's also a bit of a contradiction, because I remember when I was still with AMC, we had an opportunity to talk to Christian Bale, and he said, with no confusion, he wasn't going to play he wasn't going to be in any more comic book movies. That he was done after doing that. He's like, I've played Batman. What, like, now what? So yeah, no, I'm not going to do any more comic book movies. But that was like 8 or 9 years ago that he said that. Maybe even closer to 10, but that was years ago that he said that, and certainly a lot of things have changed. But the one thing that made a lot of us film fans and comic book movie fans excited was that Christian Bale doesn't just do paycheck movies. I mean, when you look at his film resume, especially over the last number of years, he's been very picky about only appearing in really good films that offer him roles that are really challenging for him as a performer, as an actor, and all that kind of stuff. So for him to say, yeah, I want to be in this Thor movie. That, for very good reason, that doesn't automatically mean Thor, Love and Thunder is going to be a good movie. Doesn't guarantee it. Of course it doesn't. But it's at least kind of a good sign that he looked at whatever Taika Waititi said he's got outlined for this movie, and he said, yeah, that sounds good. I want to be a part of that. For Christian Bale to do that, I think is pretty huge. But we still didn't know what kind of role was he going to play. A lot of people speculating maybe he's going to be Beta Ray Bill, but come on, the reality is, now watch, he's going to be Beta Ray Bill. But come on, the reality is, he was never going to be Beta Ray Bill. You're not going to get Christian Bale in your movie and then have him just be a CGI character. Now, you could understandably then make the case, but John, Bradley Cooper is one of the big Hollywood stars right now, and he was just a CGI character. True enough. That's a valid argument. That is a valid argument. I just don't see Christian Bale doing that, I just don't see a Christian Bale doing that. I don't see him doing that for a role that he's going to be in, and I don't think that's something that the producers would necessarily be interested in having him doing. I think they want Christian Bale full-fledged on screen. Look, everybody, it's Christian Bale. So it's probably going to be a character that they can get away with at most doing practical makeup and effects, but clearly still he's Christian Bale, I think. But now we know, at least we know now, what kind of character he's going to be playing. Tessa Thompson, Valkyrie herself, was being interviewed, and she let the cat out of the bag that her and Thor, they're going to be fighting the new villain, Christian Bale. Christian Bale is going to be the villain of Thor Love and Thunder, which I think is fascinating. I'm trying to remember the last time I saw Christian Bale play a villain, and it might have been American Psycho. I might have to go all the way back. I think we do. I think we have to go all the way back to American Psycho for him being a villain. So, if he's playing the villain, now, when Rob and I talked about this story initially, we speculated, guess what? Thor has a certain uncle. That could be interesting. The big conversation revolved around, though, that I think we got to look at is the God Butcher. I think the God Butcher gives a lot of possibilities and some really epic screen time possibilities. Plus, when you look at the motivations of the God Killer, that's something pretty meaty that Christian Bale might be able to sink his teeth into. So I got to tell you, the fact that Christian Bale is going to play a villain in the MCU, I think is just nuts. I think it's nuts and fantastic and dynamite, and I am super down for it. I am absolutely, no pun intended saying super, but I am down for it. Now, interesting note, point of order. Christian Bale playing the villain in this movie will mark the second time, ladies and gentlemen, second time that a former Batman will go on to play a villain in the MCU. Of course, we saw Michael Keaton, the original big screen Batman, Michael Keaton, recently played Vulture in Spider-Man Homecoming. So now and apparently he's going to be in Morbius as well. Now we got Christian Bale is going to play a villain in Thor Love and Thunder. So now we just got to sit back and wait for them to announce that George Clooney is going to be Norman Osborn in the MCU, and I was going to say Brad Pitt. Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck is going to be Juggernaut, bitch. Ben Affleck is going to be Juggernaut. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first. I am predicting within the next 3 weeks, George Clooney will be announced as Norman Osborn or possibly Doctor Doom. And Ben Affleck is either going to be, I think he's going to be Juggernaut. There we go. Of course, I'm being facetious. But it is interesting. 2 Batmen now are going to be MCU villains. We'll just have to wait to see who the third or fourth are going to be. Anyway, so I just thought this was fascinating stuff, guys. Fascinating stuff. I'm sure some of you guys are going to have some questions and some comments about that as we jump into the live questions. So let's not waste any more time. It's open mic today. Let's dive into it and get to your live questions. All right. We're going to start things off here with, we're missing one. There we go. Christopher Onwuzo. Now, this came in late yesterday on Late Yesterday's show. Fake news, John Campea. Ellen sued, she only accused. Well, I wouldn't call it fake news. We didn't make it a story. So here's the thing. Yesterday on the show, on the John Campea Show, for those of you who missed it, this was kind of funny. We were talking about Last of Us and how they just announced that HBO is going to make Last of Us into a live action series on HBO. And Erin Cummings was in here. She said, you know, it's funny that Ellie character, she looks a lot like Ellen Page. She looks a lot like Ellen Page. And to which Robert and I goes, well, it's funny you say that because she looks so much like her that Ellen Page actually sued them for using her likeness. Now, apparently, I didn't remember that correctly. Now, remember, this wasn't a story we were doing. This was just a conversation in the off the top of my head. But I remember her, they at least said she was threatening to sue, but apparently I had a few people then correct me. Say, actually, John, she never did actually sue. She just accused them, and I think there was definitely threats of suing them. But apparently she never did sue them, so there we go. Imagination Studios writes, hey, John and company, do you think a Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2 adaptation into a miniseries would be a good idea? Keep up the great work. Well, here's the thing. Any idea can work. Any idea. You know, you guys have heard me say this a million times, but it's true. If you can make a Lego movie, a movie about plastic building blocks, if you can make a Lego movie, anything can work. Not that everything would, but anything can work. If a stupid movie about stupid plastic building blocks can be as great as it was, anything can work. So you could do it. I'm more interested in movies than I am about turning it into TV shows. I think it would be better as a movie. I think Red Dead Redemption would be a great 2-part movie, to be honest with you. But yeah, could it work? It could. It could. Absolutely. It could also be a dumpster fire, but it could work. So I know there's a lot of people. Look, I'll tell you this, though. A lot of studios, both television and movies, are going to be paying really damn close attention to what goes on with Last of Us. Because everybody's been waiting for a true breakthrough video game movie or video game TV series adaptation to truly succeed. Because none of them have yet. And contrary to popular belief, neither has Sonic. Sonic hasn't either. Sonic's broken even. It's going to make a little bit of money, but it's not a true breakout hit. And they've been waiting for one that was a true breakout hit that audiences loved and critics loved and all that kind of stuff. So I guarantee you there are a lot of places that are going to be keeping an eye on the development. They're not even going to wait for Last of Us to come out. There's going to be a lot of studios, television and movies, they're going to be watching very closely the development of this Last of Us property. Watching very closely. Because if it even looks like it's going to turn out to be good, you're going to see the floodgates open. You're going to see a Red Dead Redemption movie or, whatever, an Amazon Prime show. You're going to see a God of War movie. You're going to see, we already know we got Uncharted coming. So it's going to I'm telling you, if Last of Us or Uncharted really knock it out of the park, we're going to see the floodgates open. Anyway, Brado the Mildly Great, I love that name, writes, "Hey John, I am stoked because I get to double feature A Quiet Place 1 and 2. Bravo, sir. In RPX, I have never seen the first one in theaters, only at home, so I am so excited. Also, never been to an RPX screening, so that too. Thanks for all your work and stay filthy. Yeah, I've never been to an RPX theater either. Cinemark 4D or whatever it's called. RPX, I think that's a Regal format, is it not? I've never been to one of those, so I've always been curious to want to check one of those things out. But my God, I am so stoked for Quiet Place 2. Quiet Place 1 was, to me, the best film of 2017, I thought. Or was it 2018? I can't remember now. But it was the best movie of the year it came out. Yeah, it was 2018. It was the best film of the year, I believe, in 2018. Quiet Place 2 is my most anticipated movie of the year. And now we saw the first round of reactions come out, and they've all been glowing. So I am so stoked, and I'm really excited for you, Brad, that you could watch a double feature. That's great, man. All right, Mr. Hoover writes, "Hey, John and company. Do you think that a Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2 adaptation into a miniseries, do we not just have this exact same question?" We do. Same answer. Same answer as before. It could work. It could be great, and everybody's going to be keeping a very close eye on it. Royce Freeman writes, Aaron, who's not here anymore. Aaron, are there any films that cis white men have no place making because it would seem insensitive? Again, Aaron's not here, and that's not really a question I want to address. The Wizard type writes, "Hi, my wife and I have been watching you for 4 years." Oh, thank you so much, Wizard. "We like to leave your channel on for our dogs when we're away." That's great. No, I'm a great dog babysitter. Just so you know, in real life too, I am a great dog babysitter. Dogs love me. I'm a big dog guy. Anyway, no one makes them as calm as you and your team. We know you're coming to Florida on April for WWE, where Ann and I are actually coming to Florida for her birthday. For her birthday, my wife wants to go to WrestleMania. That's what my wife wants to do for her birthday. So twist my arm, honey. Twist my arm. So yeah, we are going to go down to Florida for WrestleMania. We would like to give you and tickets to Universal Studios and Islands of Adventures as a thank you for all you do for the content that you put on. Bring the filthy. Oh, dude, that is super generous. That is super generous. And listen, I don't expect that at all. But hey, listen, I ain't gonna say no. Listen, you know my email address is john@thejohncampeashow.com. If you want to write to me some details, something like that, I'd be more than happy to hear. That's very kind of you, because I know Anne very much wants to go to Universal Studios while we're down there. She says the Harry Potter, Wizarding World of Harry Potter down there is better than the one here in LA. I've never been, but Anne's been. So thank you for that, Wizard. I appreciate that. And I hope your dogs enjoy the dulcet sounds of my smooth, relaxing voice. All right. Sasuke writes, "Would you mind a new opening to the Last of Us series, different from the video games with Joel and his daughter, since it's so iconic and pivotal?" Yeah, listen, the opening of Last of Us, which for anybody who doesn't know it and doesn't want to be spoiled, how do I describe this? It's gut punching and tragic. I don't know how you do Last of Us without that opening, because that opening for Last of Us, it lays the foundation of everything we know and understand about Joel, right? If you take that away, but again, at the same time, you can change it to something else. All we need though is at the beginning of the movie, whether that's the opening or whether it's something else, it has to be an experience that lets us empathize and understand where the character Joel is as this series starts. So we understand him and his attitudes and his motivation as we move forward in the story. Because if you take that opening out, it leaves a lot of that in question. Like, why is this guy such a dick? But so I would say leave it just as it is. Do it just as it is. But there are other ways to do it. But you need some sort of tragedy near the beginning of it. I think you need some kind of tragedy at the beginning of it. Sasuke also writes, since you prefer The Last of Us as a movie, I wonder if your opinion is the same if they did Red Dead Redemption. Oh, yes. Yeah, I prefer it. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Last of Us as an HBO series is going to be awesome. I mean, it could be a dumpster fire. But I mean, my expectations are very high. I think it's going to be great. I have very, very high hopes for it. I think it's going to be great. All I'm saying is I think it would be even better as a movie. And, again, what I say, then everybody says, John, there's too much in it to do it in a movie. That's exactly what people would say about Shawshank Redemption. If you heard Shawshank Redemption described to you, everybody would say, oh, you could never do that as a movie. It spans too many decades. There's too many characters. There's too many storylines. You can't possibly do Shawshank Redemption in a movie. That's what people today would say. Everybody today thinks anything more than 5 lines has to be a TV series. Everybody thinks everything has to be a TV series now. I disagree. And that's why I think they take so much more skill to make a movie, because you have to tell these entire stories with these characters and these arcs in a 2-hour, 2.5, 3 hour at most kind of window. It takes a lot more skill as a narrative storyteller, I believe. But were they able to make Shawshank Redemption as a movie? Damn right. One of the best movies of all time. People would say, oh, you could never do, if people didn't know the Godfather movie existed and you understood the Godfather, they go, oh, today people say, you can't do Godfather. Are you crazy, John? It spans too many years. Michael coming home as a war hero and getting the family business and the mafia, all that stuff, that's an entire season. And then Vito getting shot and Michael getting revenge and going to Italy. And where he goes to Italy for a long time and he meets a woman and he gets married and his wife gets murdered. That's an entire season. Michael comes back from Italy to the U.S., takes over the family business, starts to settle all family accounts, kiss the ring. That's a 3rd season right there. John, you're nuts. You can't possibly. It's impossible to do The Godfather as a movie. You cannot do it. Can't be done. That's what people today would say. Because everybody today is all thinking, wow, that book is more than 4 pages long. It has to be a TV series. I mean, that's just kind of the attitude. And I love good TV series. Don't get me wrong. And I'm really looking forward to Last of Us as a TV series. I just think people are I think it's such an easy, lazy thing today. How just quickly everybody defaults to, oh, that should be a TV series. But Godfather, Shawshank, some of the greatest movies of all time prove that when you can make a movie and you have a super skilled narrative storyteller, and it reduces everything down to the core, essential spirit of what that story is, it has impact. Way more impact than a TV series does that's spread over 10 episodes, 10 hours, blah, blah, blah. Way more impact. Again, there's strengths and weaknesses for both. And there are certain things that definitely do lean more towards television. And there are things that I think lean more. So I would be a little bit more excited if Last of Us was going to be a movie, but I'm super stoked for a TV series nonetheless. And I do feel the same way about Red Dead. All right. Simon just sends in a super chat to be supportive. Thank you, Simon. Appreciate that. Iconic Reactions writes, where'd he go? With Bad Boys reuniting, could Will Smith come back for Hancock 2? One has nothing to do with the other. One has nothing to do with the other. Could Will Smith come back for Hancock 2? And what would it take to make him say yes? I don't care what people say. I love that movie. I think Hancock is great. I'm with you, Iconic. I think Hancock is great. Maybe not great. Maybe really good. I enjoyed Hancock. I thought the ending, the 3rd act was a little shaky, to be honest. But overall, I thought Hancock was a really solid movie. And it's always been a really weird thing because Hancock was financially successful. It made money. It's not like it came out and nobody saw it, nobody cared. That movie made I know it was over $600 million. Let me pull up here. Hold on a second. Hancock box office. I think it might have even $624 million for a movie that came out 12 years ago. $624 million, and it was good. I honestly have never understood why they didn't make another one. I do think now it's too late. I think most people don't even remember Hancock now, so I think it's too late to go back and do another one. But I'm with you, Iconic. I liked it a lot. But I think that ship has sailed. So I don't think we're going to get another one. The success of Bad Boys has nothing to do with Hancock. But I've never understood why they didn't do another one. I'll be honest, I never did. All right, Jesse writes, I'd like to note that Druckmann, who is the creative guy behind Last of Us, was the creative director and did work with actors on a stage as they mocapped all the cutscenes. They basically shot Last of Us like a movie on a soundstage. Too many people think there's too many. They're vastly. Remember, believe me, I've talked to many directors who have also done game things, and they have all assured me 1,000% that doing stuff for a video game is completely night and day difference from actually doing a movie. I mean, that's great, and I'm very excited because Druckmann is going to be working with the showrunner, who was also the showrunner of Chernobyl, which is one of the best television events of the last 3 or 4 years, was Chernobyl. And so that guy is going to work, Druckmann's going to work with him. And I think that's good, positive, exciting stuff. I'm very, very stoked for that. I think this is going to be really good. All right, Willow writes, for something like HBO's Chernobyl, where they hired mostly English actors to play Russians and Ukrainians. Do you prefer the actors to do an accent or just speak English normally? Of course, realistically, they should just be speaking Russian. I know. I've always thought it was funny. When, we cut to a scene in Russia where they wouldn't be speaking English. They'd be speaking Russian. But they have them speaking in Russian accents. As if that makes it all better, right? One of the best uses of this was Hunt for Red October. Hunt for Red October did it great. Because Hunt for Red October was Sean Connery, Alec Baldwin, the best Jack Ryan thing ever. Hunt for Red October started with this Russian submarine crew all speaking Russian. And then what they did was this camera trick where Sean Connery is reading a passage in Russian, but as the camera pans down to the book and then pans back up, his Russian turns into English. And it was a visual cue for the audience. Hey, instead of doing subtitles, these guys are actually speaking Russian, but you're going to hear it all in English, right? It was a really great visual cue of doing that. And most movies don't put in that kind of effort. Most movies just go, just make him speak with a Russian accent. Now, the thing is, though, I get it. I get why they have the accent. It gives it a little bit more, even though it's artificial, it gives it more verisimilitude, as Rob would say. An artificial verisimilitude, but it gives it at least a little bit of a sense that these are Russians, these are Portuguese, these are Italians, these are, people from Britain. It gives it a little bit more. So I get it, but it is kind of silly when you think about it, right? All right. An anonymous viewer writes, "Hey, John, greetings from Germany. I saw Bloodshot today, and it was not that good. That's too bad. The plot was really predictable. The action was bad. Ooh, that's unforgivable. And Vin Diesel seemed like he didn't care at all for this movie. P.S. Dominic Toretto would still beat him." Oh, Dominic Toretto. Listen, if Vin Diesel, who I am a huge fan of, everybody knows I love me Vin Diesel. But to be fair, everybody knows that if Vin Diesel is producing a movie, is the producer of a movie, and that movie has Dominic Toretto beats Superman. Everybody knows that. Like, if Vin Diesel is producing that movie, Dominic Toretto beats Superman. The Dominic Toretto character, a lot of people like to throw around, without really understanding what it means, a lot of people today like to throw around the term Mary Sue. love throwing around the term Mary Sue. The only true Mary Sue character in Hollywood these days is Dominic Toretto. Dominic Toretto is the one true Mary Sue in thing. And I love Fast and Furious and I love Vin Diesel, but come on, let's be honest. Dominic Toretto is the one true Mary Sue. He can beat anybody. He beats anybody and everybody. He's no military training, but no, it doesn't matter. He can beat anybody. The world fears Dominic Toretto. He's no. It is what it is. All right. And sorry to hear that about Bloodshot, because I'm kind of excited for it. All right. I mean, I don't have super high expectations, but I'm still kind of excited for it. Stubble McShave writes, over under 60%, Stephen King's The Stand will be postponed since the premise of The Stand is that it's a post-apocalyptic world because of situation and some striking similarities to our current problems in the world. No. Look, when a particular tragedy happens, when a particular and specific tragedy happens, it's difficult for studios to move forward with projects that bear a lot of similarities to that. Like, for instance, let's go back to The Dark Knight Rises. There was a gun shooting in a theater. And then I believe that was the time when the Sean Penn movie Gangster Squad was coming out. And in Gangster Squad, there was a specific scene in the movie where there's a bunch of shootings happening in a movie theater. This was all about the same time that the stuff went on with the shootings in the theater at the Dark Knight screening so many years ago. It was all around the same time. And the studio decided that they needed to take that scene out of the movie. It was a very specific scene that had a stark similarity to a very specific tragedy that just happened. Sorry, part of my soda went down the wrong pipe. That's better. Okay. So it was a very specific scene related to a very specific tragedy. People die in car accidents every day in this country. In every country. People die in car accidents every day. But you don't not put a car accident scene in a movie or TV show. People die of various illnesses all the time. That doesn't mean, the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy when we see a young Star-Lord, a young Peter Quill, with his mom in the hospital dying of what can only be assumed to be like a cancer of some sorts. A lot of people really actually die from cancer. But you don't take that out. I don't think they do. Listen, I just have my doubts that The Stand is going to happen anyway. I'm not saying it's not going to. Let's be clear. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I have my doubts it's going to happen anyway. But anyway, it's a deep topic, man. It's a deep topic, and I think there's a lot of different angles and ways to look at it. It's a tough one, though. It's a tough one. All right, let's move on here. Akamaru writes, hey, John, saw your comments about bashing Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker yesterday, and I totally agree. We've already established that they fudged up, so there's nothing more to talk about, but I don't see why I should care about these little details at this point. I just want to look forward and enjoy what this year's slate of movies has to offer. I think we all should, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Okay, so for those of you who don't, thank you for saying that in Akamaru. For those of you who don't know what Akamaru was talking about, the other day, somebody brought up on the show, it's like, hey, did you hear now in the Star Wars novels it's saying Rey's dad was actually a failed clone of Palpatine, and doesn't that actually make Palpatine her dad, and all this kind of stuff. And it's stupid and it's dumb, but I said, you know what? Here's the thing. I will get on my show and I will talk about things I like and things I don't like. That's what part of being a film fan is. There are things we like. There are things we don't like. And I'll talk about things I like and I'll talk about things I don't like. But what I don't want to be is I don't want to become one of these, because I've been guilty of it. I've been guilty of it, just like probably everybody else has been. I've been guilty of it too. But what I don't want to do is be one of these guys that, okay, I didn't like The Rise of Skywalker. Fair enough. I didn't like the movie. Fair. What I don't want to do then is become one of these people that then I'm going to spend the next 6 months crying and bitching and moaning about it. I didn't like The Rise of Skywalker. There's some things they did in there that I thought they were kind of dumb, and I brought them up and I mentioned them, but they've all been mentioned now. I've said my piece. I've said and given my thoughts on The Rise of Skywalker. And by the way, a lot of people like The Rise of Skywalker, and that's awesome. I didn't, and that's okay. So what I don't mind doing is if somebody wants to bring it up, say, hey, John, what did you think of Rise of Skywalker? I'll say, well, I didn't like it. I'll continue to do that. But what I don't want to do is become one of these guys that just for the sake of clicks, that I'm going to spend the next 6 months whining and bitching and complaining about that movie. I reviewed it. I've talked about it. Everybody knows I don't like it. So when somebody brought up again the other day, and I totally understood why they would ask the question. It's a totally fair question. Somebody brought up again the other day, this whole Rey's dad was a failed clone of Palpatine. How dumb is that? And everybody was kind of hoping. And I got people tweeting saying, oh, I hope you rant about this today. And I get it. But I just went, everybody now already knows what I think about The Rise of Skywalker. There's no point in me just going off on another big tirade about it. And I have been guilty of that. I have. But I want to try not to be. I've always said I want my YouTube channel to be about the things I love. And I want my channel to be known by the things I love. Whenever I do like conferences or something and people ask me for advice on YouTubing or podcasting, I said this, just make sure you conduct yourself in such a way that when people think of you, they identify you by what it is you love. Not that they identify you by what it is you hate. I think if your audience mostly knows you by what it is you hate, I think you're doing something wrong. And I don't think that's the groundwork for long-term success. And I don't think ultimately it's good for the fan community. So yeah, when Skywalker comes out, I will say I didn't like it, and I didn't like it because of this, and I didn't like it because of this, and I thought this was bad, and I thought this was okay, and I thought this was terrible, blah, blah. But then move on and talk about being excited for the next James Bond movie, or being stoked for a Last of Us series coming, or being excited for Mandalorian season 2, or being really excited for A Quiet Place 2. Like, it's just a personal philosophy thing. I'm not telling anybody that they shouldn't express when there's something they don't like. Of course they should. But at some point, move past it. Move past it. I mean, I brought this up before, but I'll mention it again. When I was doing this past Comic-Con, when I did my Masters of the Web panel this past Comic-Con, I asked my panelists, hey guys, we've got room for one or more people, maybe one or two more people. Is there anybody, you guys, I'd say this to my existing panel. I emailed them, I said, is there anybody else you would suggest? And one of the guys on the panel sent me a name of a dude I'd not heard of yet. And I said, oh, okay. And I never heard of them. But I went to their YouTube channel, and I swear to God, I did this on purpose. I even took screenshots of it and sent it to the guy who recommended him to me. Every single video on the main page was hate. Everything. I swear to God, not a single video was about, man, I really liked this. It was all about why Game of Thrones sucks, and it was all about why Doctor Who sucks, and it was all about why Star Wars sucks, and it was all about why Marvel, like every single freaking video was hate, everything. And I remember going, hey, if this is working for this guy, God bless, and more power to him. But I just think that's the wrong approach. I think it just contributes. Listen, we're all fucking whining babies, myself included. We all are. But doing stuff like that just contributes to making us whiny, sucky, pathetic little whiners. I mean, and I am one of those. But I don't know. It just seems like the wrong approach. And at least for my philosophy, if it works for somebody else, God bless. But for me, I just, I fail at this sometimes. I know that I do. But I want to be known for the things that I love and that I'm passionate about. And that means sometimes not liking certain things. But, because believe me, when that thing came up about Rey's dad being a failed clone, believe me, I felt the anger boil inside me, and I felt like I wanted to go blah, 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 like I often do. That's basically the average John Campea rant. Blah, 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 blah. That's basically me. And And I wanted to do that, but then I just stopped myself and said, no, I've already done it. I've expressed what I felt about this situation. I've already expressed my thoughts on The Rise of Skywalker. I don't like it. Others do, and it's all good. And I'm still a Star Wars fan, so it's all good. But yeah, I just didn't want to do it more. Anyway, thanks for adding that in, Alkamar. I appreciate it. A good Canadian kid writes, sorry I forgot the explanation of what Kollywood is when I was talking about Iron Man dubbing issues yesterday. Oh, no problem. Thankfully, Rob was here and he was able to point out what it all meant. Kollywood is South Indian film industry for Tamil language, like Bollywood in North India. That's totally good. And I was so glad that Rob was here to kind of clarify that, because that is an interesting thing. For those of you who missed it the other day, Good Canadian Kid brought up the fact that for all the Avengers movies, the same actor has been doing the voice of Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man for the dub in their language, right? For over there. And apparently, out of nowhere, the last film or two, they just swapped out that voice actor for another voice actor, and it pissed a lot of people off. And I knew nothing about it. So it was a really good education. So I thank you for bringing that up, Good Canadian Kid. All right, Akamaru writes, hey, John, hearing you talk about the Resident Evil movies made me remember how much I loved watching those movies and still love them, as bad as they were. So I was wondering if you had any critical panned guilty pleasure movie that you love to watch. Oh, yeah, Armageddon. Yeah, I know everybody hates Armageddon, and that's cool. And I feel like I should hate Armageddon, but I like Armageddon. Actually, and not like guilty pleasure, I legit like Armageddon. Ben Affleck, Bruce Willis, Michael Clark Duncan, Steve Buscemi, Liv Tyler. I really like that movie. And I always get people look at me strange when I say I really like it. You like Armageddon? Like, not just in a weird, ironic way? No, really. I legit like Armageddon. We've all got a couple of those in our closet, and that one's mine. All right, Oddball Odyssey writes, hello, all. Antlers, which looks freaky as hell. Antlers is my most anticipated horror movie this year. What do you think of the trailer, and how excited are you for it? I don't know how excited I am for it, but I'm damn intrigued by it. Because that trailer, Oddball, and I think there might even be two now, but at any rate, I remember when I watched the first trailer, I'm like, that looks spooky as F. I mean, that looks really creepy. And it very much had a Hereditary feel to it. You know what I mean? Like when you watch the trailer for Antlers, like it's like, this kind of feels a lot like Hereditary. And I mean that in a very good way. So I don't know if I'd say I'm excited for it, but I am damn intrigued by it. Or Russell Amador writes, hey, John, so apparently Tessa Thompson was interviewed sometime this week and stated that Bale was going to play the villain and that it's going to be good, referring to Thor, Love and Thunder. Thoughts on this? Seems to cement this more that he'll be the villain. Well, I mean, it doesn't cement more. I mean, it verifies it. He's going to be the villain. When one of the stars of the movie comes out and say, this guy is playing the villain, you can now take that to the bank. It's not like some Gus's gas station movie review blog.fart website saying it. This is one of the stars of the movie, so we can probably take it to the bank. Now, she also did say that the movie's going to be great. Well, of course, an actor in an upcoming movie is going to say that their movie's going to be great. So don't read too much into that. Don't invest everything you got in that statement from an actor in the movie saying the movie's going to be good, but it does take that to the bank. And as I said off the top of the show, Russell, very excited about it. I think it says a lot. Doesn't guarantee that the movie's going to be good. It doesn't. It could be terrible, but I think it at least points us in a good direction. I'm very, very excited for it. All right. Kevin Kakaten writes, hey, John, with Black Widow out in a few months, I can't stop wondering how lethal would Natasha have been had she received the same serum as Bucky and Cap. She has been a formidable force in combat, and that is without any enhancements or Stark tech. Yeah, I mean, it's the same kind of question like when you go to Daredevil. How lethal would Daredevil be if he did have his eyesight on top of all of his other sensory abilities? Like if on top of his insane echo navigation, all that kind of his radar, basically. If he also had sight, oh my God, how powerful would he be? How powerful would be if he got the super soldier serum, right? It's a good question because her and Hawkeye in straight hand-to-hand combat in the MCU universe as it exists right now. Remember, the movie universe as it exists right now. Hawkeye and Black Widow are the best hand-to-hand fighters. They're the best. Sans any augmentation or superpowers, they're the best. So if you were to add the superpowers to them, they would be truly, truly lethal. All right. Jake C. writes, "Hey, John, my short film Beard got accepted to Cannes." Wow, got accepted to Cannes? That's amazing. This is the biggest shot I've ever had at a filmmaking career, but I'm scared if coronavirus causes cancellation, they'll refund me, but I'm not sure I'll ever be lucky enough to get accepted again. That is... Oh, dude, it's funny you mentioned that because, South by Southwest was just canceled. And for those of you who didn't hear that, the news came out yesterday or the day before. South by Southwest got canceled. And that's a big deal. South by Southwest has become a big deal in filmmaking. And I know a lot of smaller indie films do their big premieres there and get attention there and all that kind of stuff. And I remember thinking that there's probably some damn filmmaker who got their film accepted to South by Southwest, and now South by Southwest canceled. And that might be like one of the biggest things that they've ever had in their career up until this point. But dude, having your short film, first of all, whether Cannes gets canceled or not, no one can ever take away from you that a short film that you made got accepted to the Cannes Film Festival. Nobody can ever take that away from you. That's there. Whether it goes forward or not, that is an honor you can carry with you forever. And that's awesome. So dude, seriously, from a bunch of film fans, you, a filmmaker, got your film accepted into one of the most prestigious film festivals in the world. Tip of the cap to you, sir. Tip of the cap. And a filthy, filthy greeting to you. And I hope, for many different reasons, I hope it's able to move forward, and I hope you're able to have that moment, man. But even if it doesn't, never forget that can't be taken away from you. All right. Mr. TJ Lynn writes, "Since 1981, only 3 times a film wins Best Picture without a Best Director nomination: Driving Miss Daisy, Argo, and Green Book." I forgot about Green Book. That's a good one. Statistically, it's more likely to win Best Picture without an editing nomination than without a directing nomination. This is interesting. It is crazy, but it just goes, I think it goes to, when you look like over the last 40 years, and probably more than that, only 3 films have won Best Picture without also a Best Director nomination. That tells you how important the director role is. But I think it does also, to your point, TJ, I think it speaks to also understanding how important good editing is. Like, you shoot the movie on set, but you make the movie in the edit bay. That's where you make the movie, is in the edit bay. And I think it really does. That's a really good commentary on the importance of it. So that's a great thing to bring up, TJ. Love it. Love it. Anonymous viewer writes, just watch Shazam. I love it more than Endgame. Also, watch The Simple Favor. Oh, I love Anna Kendrick in it. Those are 2 fabulous movies. Absolutely fabulous movies. Now granted, it's more than most people. I love Shazam. Shazam busted every expectation I had. I was just grinning ear to ear that entire movie. I thought it was charming and heartfelt. It had great humor. I just loved it. I loved it. And the big reveal at the end was like, oh, it was great. Now, I don't know that I loved it more than Endgame, but I like Shazam a hell of a lot more than I think a lot of people think. I thought the movie was great. I think Shazam really embodies what a true comic book movie is, with the fantasy and adventure and wonder, and just, it had all of it. And I dug it a lot. And of course, I've been telling people harshly, ever since I saw it like a while ago, A Simple Favor with Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And if you didn't give it a shot, then that's your bad. That's serious. You're just cheating yourself. A Simple Favor is a wonderfully made movie, and I do love Anna Kendrick in it. Mr. TJ Lynn writes, favorite comic book movies: Shazam, The Dark Knight, Joker, Logan, and Winter Soldier. I got to tell you, I don't know. Again, I love Shazam. I don't know if I put it up with Logan, Dark Knight, Winter Soldier, the original Avengers. I don't know if I put it up that high, but I do love it. And I'll sit down, TJ, and watch. If somebody told me, hey, this weekend, you got to stay home, you can't do anything, but you can watch this weekend Shazam, Dark Knight, Joker, Logan, and Winter Soldier, I'll consider that a win. I'll take that as a good weekend and a weekend well spent. I like your list, man. Winnie the Pooh writes, I'm voting for you as the best Disney spokesperson. Disney might have something to say about that. It's still funny to me it's still funny to me that I literally on a daily basis, will get angry emails or tweets or comments from people saying, why do you hate Disney? Why are you so against Disney? Why are you always so unfairly bashing Disney? I'm like, what? And at the exact same time, I will then open the next tweet or the next email or the next comment. Why are you always just, why are you on Disney's payroll? Why are you so pro Disney? And I swear it's amazing that I will get both on the same day. It's amazing that I'll get both on the same day. Like, I get it. I didn't want Disney to win the Fox deal. I wanted Universal to win it. And I didn't want the X-Men in the MCU. Yes, I didn't. And yes, I didn't like, a bunch of the movies of theirs. I didn't like the Mary Poppins movie. I didn't like their Dumbo movie. I didn't like Wrinkle in Time. I didn't like this, that, the other, whatever. But that doesn't mean I don't really like Disney. I do. I really like Disney. Yeah, I didn't think Endgame was the best comic book movie of the year. Sorry, let me rephrase. I didn't think Infinity War was the best comic book movie of the year. I thought Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But that doesn't mean I didn't like Infinity War. That doesn't mean I don't like Marvel. I do like Marvel. I like Marvel very much. Yes, I'm sorry. I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was a piece of shit show. Even though I really do like a number of the actors on it, I thought it was a piece of shit show. But that doesn't mean I don't like Marvel. It doesn't mean I don't like the MCU. And yes, on the other side, yeah, I like the Force Awakens, I should say. I do not like the Phantom Menace. I do like the Force Awakens, and I like The Last Jedi, and I like Rogue One. I like that. That doesn't mean I can't be critical of Disney at the same time. So, I don't know. It's just been a thing of my career for years that I literally on a daily basis. Now, something that also used to happen that doesn't happen anymore, I also used to get, at the same time, I would get a lot of people writing to me asking me why I'm in Warner Brothers' pocket, and then also people writing to me asking me why I hate Warner Brothers so much, which is the thing. I will let you know, only one time, well, I guess two now because of Hasbro. There have been 2 times in my life that an entertainment company, like a studio, has actually given me money. All right, twice. Once was Lionsgate, because I worked for Lionsgate for a while. This is back when I did Comic-Con HQ. And I did my show, Film HQ, on the Comic-Con HQ network, which was owned by Lionsgate. I was literally a paid employee of Lionsgate. Now, I still gave some negative reviews to some Lionsgate movies, but I always had to give full disclosure. I was on Lionsgate's payroll. I mean, I was. And I let everybody know it, and I was upfront about it, and I said, just so everybody knows, I take a paycheck from Lionsgate. Lionsgate gives me a paycheck because I'm doing this show on this network that is owned by Lionsgate. They're who I get my money from. And today, half of my household income comes from Hasbro. Not to me personally, but to my wife, because my wife's a big Hasbro person. And so like half of my household income comes from Hasbro. Doesn't stop me from shitting on the Transformers, but which I wonder how people at Hasbro feel about that. But I do get my household. I take in money into my household from Hasbro. So those are the 2 only times I've ever taken money. But when I do take money, I've always let my viewers know very quickly and very upfront that hey, just guys, I've taken money. And there was one time I got paid to do a movie review for this really cool little documentary with Kumail Nanjiani and a few other people called, I think it's just called Poop or something like that. And it was a documentary literally about poop. And I thought it was hilarious, and I thought it was good. And they actually asked me, if we paid you, would you do a review? And I said, sure. But number 1, I'm going to let my audience know that it's being paid for. And number 2, you got to be comfortable that I'm just going to give my honest opinion about it. And they said, sure. So I told my audience, just so you guys know, they paid me to review this movie. They paid me to review this movie. So just so you know that. But I really liked it. And I had a negative response from people in my audience saying, hey, look, we appreciate that you're telling us that you're getting paid to do the review, but this doesn't feel good. I had my audience tell me, this doesn't feel good. Like, you're being upfront about it, but it doesn't feel good reviewing a movie that has been paid for. And I took that to heart. So I have, ever since, I've been offered money to do reviews for movies that I otherwise wouldn't review. And I've had to turn them down. Actually, just happened again like 2 days ago. I literally had somebody write to me, and they weren't trying to bribe me. They were saying, hey, we've made this. It was a little studio. They say, we've made this little film that we're very proud of. We know it's not the kind of movie you would normally talk about on the John Campea Show, but we really just want to get word out about our movie. If we paid you to do a review, and we want you to be totally honest, but if we paid you to do a review, could you do a review of our movie? They were being totally legit, and they were trying to be upfront as possible, and they weren't trying to be shady. But I had to get back to them, and I had to tell them, you know what? I really appreciate that, but I did that once before, and my audience just didn't feel good about it, so I can't do it. I just can't do it anymore. So I had to turn it down. But it is what it is. But yeah, there you go. Anyway, okay. Alex Pitt writes, Cineworld in the UK are showing the first couple of episodes of The Mandalorian on the 16th of March, presumably to get people to sign up for Disney+. I've already signed up, but I'll probably still go to this. I'll tell you what, dude. If AMC was doing screenings of Mandalorian, I've already watched Mandalorian. If AMC was doing screenings of Mandalorian on the big screen, and it was cheap tickets, I'd probably go to watch it on the big screen. I think that sounds... Listen, remember Game of Thrones did that before too. They would show like one episode in theaters to get people pumped about the season. It's not the first time it's been done, and I actually get a kick out of it because you know me, I like seeing things on the big screen. All right, Mr. TJ Lynn writes, a movie genie comes to you to grant you one movie wish to choose from the following list. Which do you choose? Number 1. Ben Affleck writes and directs Batman 2. Or directs Batman. Number 2. Spielberg directing a Star Wars movie. Number 3. Your new documentary is so loved it gets Oscar nominations. Well, I think that's easy. Only one of those movies do I personally gain from, and that's my new documentary is so loved it gets Oscar nominations. Spoiler alert, it won't. Just want to give you a little spoiler alert. But, yeah, I mean, that's the only one that I personally gain financially from, right? Like, don't get me wrong. You guys know how desperate I am to see Ben Affleck write and direct and star in a Batman movie. I am. You guys know for most of my life, I've wanted to see Steven Spielberg direct a Star Wars movie. Most of my life, I've wanted to see, most of my life, I've wanted to see Steven Spielberg direct a Star Wars movie. But if first of all, if my documentary is so good that it's loved, that would be the greatest thing in the world. And I get Oscar nominations? Oh my God, which probably means I get lots of money. Woo! I mean, that's just a trifecta. I'd be lying if I told you that. I mean, definitely that my documentary ends up being good. Because I'm not even sure my documentary is going to be good. I mean, that's the funny thing. Like, forget what other people... Here's the thing. Okay, so a lot of people will write to me, right, and ask about YouTubing, and they'll say, John, how do I get more viewers? And I'm like, you're asking the wrong question. And people never like hearing that. But I'm like, you're asking the wrong question because your YouTube channel may not be good enough to get viewers. So why don't you start with, and this is where I always tell people are thinking the wrong way, because I say your first question should always be, how do I make my YouTube channel better? That should always be your first question. And it's the question I'm asking myself every day. Because I know I've got a lot of room for improvement. So I'm asking myself that question every day. If you come to me and say, how do I get more viewers to my channel? I instantly know you've got the totally wrong mindset. So with me, I'm not worried about, like, I got people coming to me. It's like, oh, what's your distribution going to be for your documentary? And, oh, are you going to put it to these festivals? And are you going to do this? And I'm like, dudes, I don't even know if my documentary is going to be any good. All I'm worried about right now is, can I make my documentary good? That's it. That's the only question I am asking myself right now is, how can I make it good? Because I don't know if I can make it good. I don't know. I think we've got a great idea. I think I've got some great people working with me. I know we've done some great interviews already, but am I going to be able to take that and make it into something that's watchable as a documentary for an hour and a half? I don't know. I mean, but so that's my only question that I'm asking myself right now. So just the first part, TJ, your new documentary is so loved. Done. I'll take it. If I can at least know that my documentary would be good, that's all I'll take. All right, next up. TJ also writes, which Mars-related film listed here is your favorite? Mars Attacks, Mission to Mars, My Favorite Martian, or that's easy, The Martian. The Martian. Directed by Ridley Scott, starring Matt Damon. That movie was so much better than it had any business being. That movie was brilliant. Brilliant. I'm actually not a huge Mars Attacks fan. Don't get me wrong. I find Mars Attacks cute, but I'm not actually a big Mars Attacks fan. Mission to Mars, Favorite Martian, but The Martian by Ridley Scott, that movie's special. That's a really great movie, and I can watch it any day. I can watch that movie any day. Roman Bryant writes, all it takes is one bad day to drive the sanest man into lunacy. Second Batman to suffer from that. I see what you're saying because of Christian Bale. You know what's funny? I put up a tweet about Christian Bale becoming the second Batman to become a Marvel villain, and I had a few people put in the meme of Aaron Eckhart going, the classic Dark Knight line, you either die the hero or see yourself live long enough to become the villain. Which I thought was greatly appropriate. It was greatly appropriate, Roman. All right, John McKinney writes, what are your top 5 favorite musicians / bands? I don't do top 5s, just so you know. But for you, number 1, Ozzy Osbourne. Number 2, Marilyn Manson. Number 3, Metallica. Number 4, System of a Down. Number 5, Avenged Sevenfold. I have a very wide musical taste. The only music I don't really like is country music. But even then, I don't know why. I became a big Blake Shelton fan just from watching The Voice. I would love to hang out with that dude and watch a football game. Anyway. So I'm not really a country music fan, but other than country music, man, listen, if you listen to my Google Play playlist, it's got some classical pieces in there. I've got music scores. I've got, obviously my favorite band of all time is U2, is my favorite band of all time. But I've also got like some metal on there. I got some great stuff from the 80s. I got some modern stuff. I got a bunch of hip hop on it. I got a really wide variety, a wide range of stuff that I like. But my all-time favorite band is U2. That's my all-time favorite band. I actually used to play in a U2 tribute band. So there you go. Let's see here. Slim Trav writes, buy one, rent one, lose one, steal, Jonah Hex, Spawn. Okay. So I would buy, steal, and then burn it. I would rent Jonah Hex and then burn it, and then I would burn Spawn and then lose it. So how's that for all 3? That's what I do to the 3. Tyler Yeats writes, love The Way Back. Dude, I'm so bummed. I was supposed to go see it last night and I couldn't get over to the theater in time. Ben Affleck was great, and I met Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum last weekend, and it was something I will never forget. I've never met Tom Welling. True story, I'm not going to say who it was, just in case some of you might remember, but one of Michael Rosenbaum's ex-girlfriends used to work for me. True story. One of Michael Rosenbaum's ex-girlfriends used to work for me. Now, everybody's now trying to guess. Your guess is probably wrong. I'm just going to say your guess is, the names you're thinking of right now are probably wrong. But I've always wanted to meet Tom Welling. He was great in Lucifer, season 3, by the way. I thought he was great in Lucifer. And I've never had a chance to meet Michael Rosenbaum either. So that sounds like it's a really cool day. All right. Let's see. Suthius writes, hey, y'all. That tracking camera that's above you, is it always moving back and forth, or does it activate when you switch to it? And is it possible for you to have another to track the area that Mr. Burnett and Miss Aaron and Miss Chris sit in? I know they're expensive, though. Okay, so a little bit of inside baseball. I don't know if I can get this to work. Let me see. Let me just see. Maybe. I don't know if I can, but let me see if I can get this to work. Oh, I might be able to get this to work. Hold on a second. Okay. Let's see, shall we? Okay, so here's me. Hi. Woo, look at there's my cockpit. This is the cockpit that I sit in here. All right. Over there is where Aaron sits. Over yonder, over there, right beside Henry Cavill Superman, is where Rob sits. I'm giving you a behind-the-scenes look, guys. Behind-the-scenes look of my suit. There is my slider. Now, that slider is programmable. And what I'm able to do is I'm able to, I program it before the John Campea Show starts. And basically, I'm able to program it and tell it, start at this point and point this way, and then move over here. And as you're moving, camera turn to keep me in the center. It's all programmable. And yeah, it's a little expensive, but I really do like the shot. I think it just gives it a little bit more of a dynamic thing. Now, can I put that on Rob and Aaron? No, for two very important reasons. Number one is it's expensive. It's expensive. So I don't have the money to do that. But probably even if I did have the money to do that, I don't have the room. Like I think you guys saw how much room just having that slider takes up, and I don't have a lot of room. Like where Aaron sits, if I reach out my arm and she reaches out her arm, we're touching hands. Like that's how close we are to each other when she's over there, or when Chris is over there and when Rob's over there. There's just no room between the end of my desk and where he sits. I've got room just to put in one little camera there to be on him. It's a good camera. But not a lot of room. So no, it would be impossible for me to set up tracking shots also on Aaron and on Rob. It's hard enough for me to have enough room in here just to have the one on me. So there's that. Anyway, I like little technical behind the scenes questions. I hope you found that interesting. Okay, let's see here. Where are we at? That was Suthius. So now we're at ZOMG Ruler, who writes, been a while, John. Been busy moving to Florida. Woo! I'm going to be visiting Florida here pretty soon to help family and also canvass for Bernie Sanders out there. Sorry to miss your shows this past week, but I had to help Bernie since outcome isn't looking too good for him. No hard feelings. I'll be watching you, of course. I'm not going to comment on any of that, ZOMG, because we're not here to talk politics at all, one way or the other. Other than say then, have a good time in Florida. I'm looking forward to visiting Florida, and I hope you're enjoying yourself down there and the weather is glorious for you. All right, K Major writes, Look at what you started, John. Now I don't know if I want Clooney or Kilmer as Osborn. Hashtag Affleck is my juggernaut. So yeah, I put up, not only did I say it on the show, I put it on my Twitter that, Ben Affleck can be Juggernaut. Yeah, why not? Ben Affleck is Juggernaut. So there you go. I think I started some K Major. Everybody get that hashtag trending. Affleck is my juggernaut. Get him out there. All right, Richard Karate writes, hey, John, my mom thinks you're hot and is always saying how lucky Ann is. It's her 63rd birthday today. Can you please give her a mention on her birthday? Well, happy birthday to your mom. That is awesome. And it's very good of you to want to mention your mom. That is awesome. So happiest of birthdays to your mom. May she have a glorious, glorious day and a glorious, glorious year ahead of her. So that's very classy of you. Let's see. Richard also writes, part 1. Do you think they could have a complete shocker moment in Creed 3 that now Rocky is with his family, and after Donnie beat Drago's son, Ivan Drago will now want to make peace with Adonis? Oh, sorry, that's part 1. Let's move on here. Part 2. And the way he makes peace with Adonis is becoming his new trainer going forward in the future movies. That would be a great twist and would be fascinating to see how he can make amends to Donnie. Ooh. That's... Okay. On several levels, that sounds fascinating to me. The one big problem, of course, comes that his son, Ivan's son, is still a fighter. And is probably going to have another shot at that title at some point. Because Drago Jr. is a beast. So you'd have to come up with something that says, after that fight with Adonis, Drago's son decided he's done fighting. He doesn't want to be a boxer anymore, which sucks because he's so great. And that opens the door for Ivan to come and it would be an interesting twist. Rocky retired. Adonis needs a new trainer. It'd be interesting. You'd have to figure out a way for it to work narratively, but it definitely would be interesting. All right, this neat idea. It's a neat idea. All right, Yoshai writes, What are the odds of Taskmaster's powers in Black Widow come from some sort of tech in his suit instead of superhuman ability biologically? Thanks. Oh, yeah. No, I honestly don't think he's going to be superhuman in the movie. Now, I don't know that. I'm not saying I've heard that from anybody. My guess, though, is that he's not going to have any superhuman abilities in the movie. And anything that is going to be special will come from his tech. That's my guess. I could be wrong, but I think you're right about that, Yoshai. I think you're right about that. All right, Tim Platt writes, I was definitely skeptical when I first heard of it, but Scoob looks like it's going to have a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see it now. Of course, a new Scooby-Doo trailer came out. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I have zero interest in a Scooby-Doo animated movie. That's not to say that the movie won't be good. I'm just saying I don't have any interest in it right now. To be fair, there was a new trailer for Scoob that just came out. There was a new Scoob trailer that just came out, and I haven't watched it. I haven't watched it yet. So maybe if I watch it, it'll get my attention too, but I haven't watched it. Maybe I'll have to do that today, Tim, after the show. All right, Fan of Peanuts writes, one of two. Watched Frozen for the first time, a feat and a treat. Terrific animation with immense depth and competent artistic visuals. I was impressed. 9 out of 10. You said, oh, there it is. 2 of 3. I saw Onward. It was fun. While it isn't quite the sublime Pixar I am utterly spoiled by, it does certainly keep good faith and standing within. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And a Fan of Peanuts then writes, 3 of 3, the quality realm and high-class storytelling that Pixar has always been known for. I had small quibbles with pacing in the middle of the film, 8 out of 10. Listen, I said this from the first time I saw Onward. I said, this is not the best Pixar movie. It's not in that top shelf of the top 3 or 4 or 5 Pixar movies. But it's in that next level down of really good movies nonetheless. Pixar's Onward is a really good little movie. I enjoyed it immensely. I really did. Again, it's not Toy Story 3. It's not The Incredibles. It's not Up. But it fits right in there with a lot of the other really great and really good Pixar films. Very enjoyable. Not the best Pixar, but that's a really high bar. But I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm glad you did. And by the way, I like Frozen. I am unapologetic about that. I know it's the cool thing to hate on Frozen, but I remember when I went to go see Frozen for the first time, the first movie, I was like, that was way better than I thought it would be. I really enjoy the first Frozen. By the way, I really like the second one too. All right. An anonymous viewer writes, we live in a 10 culture where anything not rated 10 out of 10 sucks. You don't give movies numerical scores, but what's the last movie you saw that you would consider a perfect 10? For me, it's Toy Story 3. Speaking of Toy Story, yeah, I stopped giving numerical scores to movies, like 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, because they don't mean anything to anybody anymore. Because here's the thing. Giving a numerical score only has value if everybody is rating by the same system. And what I mean by that is this. If to you 7 out of 10 means the movie's crappy, and to me 7 out of 10 means it's a solid movie, then what's the point in giving a score? You know, I would watch a movie, and you're right, we do live in a culture right now where film fandom is like everything's 10 or 0. Everything's either the best thing ever or it's the worst thing ever. And I just don't approach movies that way. Like I go see a movie. If I think a movie's really solid and I quite enjoyed it, I give it a 7 out of 10, right? 7 out of 10, 3 points away from being perfect. You know, and I think to me that's really solid. If it's a great movie, I'll give it an 8. If it's one of the best of the year, I'll give it a 9. But it was very rare. I think I've only given, like when I was giving numerical scores, I think I've only given like 7 or 8 10s and all that kind of stuff. So since there was no baseline understanding because, you know, I give a movie 7 out of 10 and eventually it was inevitable. I get all these people going, why'd you hate that movie, Campea? Why'd you hate that movie? Like, I didn't hate it. I really liked it. I thought it was very solid. I gave it a 7 out of 10. 7 means it sucks. Why didn't you give it a 10? Like, that would happen. It would happen all the time. And then, as I review hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of films, eventually people start weaponizing, you giving scoring to things, because everybody gives scores to things, but they don't put them up for public record, right? They keep them private so it can't be dug up against them. But what would happen with me is I would see a movie and I give it a score. And what some people would do is they would weaponize that and use it against me. Because if they didn't think I liked a movie enough, well, then what they would do is they go back through all my videos, find another movie that I gave a slightly higher score to, and then say, well, you don't know anything, Campea. You gave that other movie a 7.5. You're saying that other movie from 8 years ago. You're saying that other movie was better than this one. You have no good. And I was like, I just got tired of it. I just, there was no baseline understanding for what a score meant to people. So what's the point? And then people would there'd be some just little losers that would then try to weaponize it against me. I was like, what's the point? So I said, from now on, when I review movies, I'm just going to review the movie. I'm just going to tell people what I thought about the movie, and I'm not going to do individual scores. The last movie I gave a 10 out of 10 to might have been Up. Now, I'm not saying there haven't been any movies since that I would have given a 10 out of 10 to, but I think the last movie I saw back when I was still doing numerical scores that I actually gave out a 10 out of 10 to, if memory serves me correctly, I think it might have been Up. I think I might have given Up a 10 out of 10, but that's just me. All right. Let's see here. Next up, Mr. Hoover writes, "Hey, John, I just wanted to ask you for some advice. I got accepted to the New York Film Academy, very cool, in New York City, for a bachelor's in filmmaking. Do you have any advice for making connections so I can get a job after school?" Listen, you're talking to the wrong guy. Because, while I have made a couple of small project films, I am not a filmmaker. But John, you just said you're making a documentary. Yeah. But listen, I can pull out my guitar that's over there and I can play my guitar. I can play my guitar, but I'm not a guitarist. You know what I mean? So there's a difference. I can go downstairs and make a delicious lunch. I'm not a chef. And yeah, I think any of us can make a film. As the great film instructor Dove S.S. Simmons once said, you want to know how to make a movie? Here's how you make a movie. Get a camera, point it at a couple of friends, hit record, say action, 90 minutes later, say cut, hit stop, congratulations, you've made a movie. And it's true. So I am not a filmmaker, I have some people I know in this business, but I'm not interconnected in that business in that way. So I could know how to tell you how to make some connections in the film blogging world and in the film YouTube world, but I'm not the right guy to ask for advice on, unfortunately, and I wish I could be more helpful. But quite frankly, I'm not the right guy to ask for that because that's a different beast. And by the way, dude, congrats on you for getting in there. Congrats to you for pursuing your dream, not just sitting on your ass and talking about your dream, but you're actually pursuing your dream. And that's awesome. And I hope for all the success in the world for you, buddy. All right. We move on now. Who was that? That was Mr. Hoover. Now we move on to Unicorn Mall, who writes, Cap was worthy since Age of Ultron. Josh hinted that Cap chose not to lift the hammer because it would embarrass her. Yeah, no, I don't buy that for a second. I've heard that said before. I don't buy that for a second, not in the least, because that in itself would have been a lie. If Cap could lift the hammer and pretended he couldn't, that in and of itself would be a deceit and be a lie. So no, I don't believe that. Even for the remotest second. I don't believe that for a second. I love how they set it up years ahead of Endgame. Now, what they did do in Age of Ultron was Cap did something that no one else could do. He actually budged it, right? He actually budged it. But this whole thing about, he could always lift it. He could have lifted it there. Nope, I dismiss that, Unicorn Mall. I dismiss that entirely. Anyway, Jen Key writes, you're fond of me lobster, ain't ye? Say it. Oh, what was that from? Oh, I can't remember off the top of my head. You got me on that one. Xavier Gomez writes, The Walking Dead is better than ever. It's a shame only about 3 million viewers are left comparatively. Yeah, I got to admit, I ditched on Walking Dead. I didn't watch the most previous season. I think the show is up. I don't know, but look, there's still millions of people who watch that show. And so clearly it's doing something right. But not every show is for everybody. and it's just not a show that really worked for me, so I tapped out on it a while ago. I got to admit, I tapped out a while ago. Let's see here. Russell Amador writes, "Hey, John. So I saw The Way Back last night. I'm very jealous because I was supposed to see it last night and really enjoyed it. I loved how it wasn't a simple tale of him being an alcoholic, but a story of tragedy and triumph. That box has been checked for the weekend. And next up, tonight's UFC, Stylebender for the win." Yeah, listen, but Yoel Romero has nuclear bombs attached to the end of his arms. He's got nuclear bombs. Now, I've seen Stylebender take big hits from Anderson Silva, from Gastelum. I've seen him take big hits, and he's got a great jaw. But if Yoel Romero catches you flush, I don't care who you are, you're going nighty-night. You're going nap time. Sleepy sleep time. So I also have Stylebender. I believe Stylebender wins that fight. But if Yoel Romero is able to land on Stylebender the way Gastelum landed on him once or twice, it's sleepy sleep, nighty night, nap time. He's going to sleep. Believe it, he's going to sleep. I just think Stylebender is so quick, so elusive. I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, I got Stylebender for the win as well. All right, Jay Meister writes, "So excited for Thor 4. Enough pieces in place for it to be great. Taika, Christian Bale, more cosmic 1980s heavy metal Thor. I need my popcorn now." Listen, and if I wasn't already just stoked for a Thor 4 because I love the Thor character and I love Chris Hemsworth portraying that character and all that kind of stuff, if I wasn't already stoked because of how great I thought Thor Ragnarok was, if I wasn't already stoked because Taika Waititi then one-upped himself and went in and made, I thought, the best movie of 2019 in Jojo Rabbit, then they just trump it again by bringing in Christian Bale as the villain. I mean, you're right. All the pieces are in place. We've seen other movies with a lot of good pieces in place and they don't work. That could happen here, but my expectations are high, Jay Meister. My expectations are high. All right, Russell Amador writes, breaking news. According to John Campea, George Clooney to play Norman Osborn, and so it begins. Listen, don't laugh. I am not going to be surprised in the least if sometime this afternoon I'm going through my news feed and find some site somewhere saying that, according to a source from John Campea, and it's like, no, guys, I was kidding. I was being facetious. Don't do it. But you know someone's going to run with that, right? Let's see. Nathan Taylor writes, "I want Val Kilmer somewhere in the MCU." I can't remember. Val is going to appear in the new, if I'm not mistaken, I believe I remember them saying that Val Kilmer was going to appear in the new Top Gun. I used to love Val Kilmer, man. I used to love Val Kilmer. From his earliest stuff, to his Westerns, to Heat, to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, obviously in Top Gun. I really like Val Kilmer. I even like The Saint. That's right. I liked The Saint. So there, take that. So it would be cool to see him pop up again sometime. All right. JFB writes, "Can you explain Bring On the Filthy comments?" Just really quick. I was talking about 50 Shades of Grey long before the first 50 Shades of Grey came out. We were talking about whether it would be rated R or whether it would be NC-17. And I said they're not going to make it so filthy to make it NC-17 because they're going to be worried about box office. And I said, and just out of nowhere, I said, hey, don't get me wrong, though. I love the filthy. Bring on the filthy. I said that one time and it kind of caught on and it's kind of become a catchphrase. Like people started writing in and ending all their messages to me with "Bring on the filthy." It just kind of became a thing. And that was years ago. So that's where that came from, JFB. All right. Dimsum05 writes, "Gotta say, I'm kind of over TV for now. Too much of a good thing, I guess. That's why I wish we could get the whole story of Last of Us in a brisk 90 to 180 minutes on a massive screen with my favorite snacks and a bunch of strangers." So I agree with you. Yeah, look, and TV today is probably better than it's ever been. TV today is almost better than it's ever been. But yeah, there's something about the eventness and not needing it to drag out over 10 hours and really just give it pop with like 160 minutes, 180 minutes, good solid movie focusing just on all the core most important things and giving you the most bang for your buck. And I don't have to invest 13 or 14 hours into watching it. That's just me. But listen, the show is going to be great. I mean, you can't guarantee that. But when you got the guy who did Chernobyl, working with the creative guy behind the game itself, and is going on HBO, which just seems to crank out quality content. I mean, there's a lot of reasons here to believe that this show is going to be awesome. And I would have preferred it as a movie. Yes, I would have preferred it as a movie, but this is still going to be great. So I'm just happy that one way or the other that we're getting it, Dim Sum. I'm just happy we're getting it one way or the other. All right, Dim Sum also writes, saw Onward and The Way Back. Great movie weekend, crushed emotionally by both, but Onward just surpasses it for me. Ironically, my teenage niece and nephew enjoyed The Way Back more. Who knew? And again, that's one of the really nice things about Onward. And again, I didn't get to see The Way Back as I was supposed to last night. But one of the things that really impressed me about Onward was how emotionally satisfying the movie was. The movie was really emotionally satisfying on top of being fun and on top of being funny. It also really touches a lot of emotions, which a lot of Pixar films really have a great tendency of doing. So that sounds like a really great double feature, Dim Sum. I'm a little bit jealous. Not going to lie. I'm a little bit jealous. All right. Just going to take a couple more here, guys. I'm going to take a short break. R. Lee writes, Gina Carano just announced on her Instagram that The Mandalorian Season 2 just wrapped filming. So excited. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit yesterday. Very stoked now. The long post-production process. And then near the end of the year, we're getting Mandalorian Season 2, ladies and gentlemen. Mandalorian Season 2. I'm so stoked, dude. I'm so stoked. And Ann and I were just at Disneyland the other day because we went to the Rise of Resistance ride. So many people carrying around Baby Yodas. Baby Yoda backpacks, Baby Yoda t-shirts, Baby Yoda's on their drink things, Baby Yoda hats. I mean, Baby Yoda has taken over the world, ladies and gentlemen. Baby Yoda has taken over the world. All right. A fan of Peanuts writes, 4-way face-off. Thanos with a fully equipped Infinity Gauntlet versus Dominic Toretto versus John Wick versus Mr. Rogers. Who is out of the fight first? Who wins? Well, it's Mr. Rogers wins because he's going to talk them all down. He's going to talk them all down. He's going to overwhelm them with kindness. And they're going to start questioning their life decisions. And by the time Mr. Rogers is done, they're all going to be sitting down sobbing and weeping over their bad life choices. And Mr. Fred Rogers is not only going to tear them down that way, he's then going to build them back up and make them feel the value that they have as individuals. Because that's what Mr. Rogers, I'm telling you, I honestly think he might have been the greatest human being to ever live. Again, I know I've talked about it, but if you have not watched the documentary, I think it's called Won't You Be My Neighbor? One is Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, one is Won't You Be My Neighbor. One's a documentary, one's a live action. I always get them confused. But the documentary from 2 years ago, he was simply not perfect. He was certainly not perfect. But he was one of the greatest human beings to ever live. He's one of the greatest human beings who ever lived. And, you know, the guy was an evangelical minister. A lot of people didn't know that. He was a minister. And he saw doing the show for children was his ministry of trying to help children and help teach them how to deal with their emotions and all that kind of stuff. Now, you would think today, evangelical stuff like that has a lot of negative connotations today because it comes baggaged with a lot of crap. But Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers, there's this scene that it makes me weep whenever I saw it. There's two scenes in particular. There was a big news story at the time. And for those of you who've seen the documentary, you know what I'm about to say, but this crushes me in a uplifting, beautiful, and amazing way. There was this big headline story going because of all the racism in America that there were hotel owners saying black patrons were not allowed to be in their pools because white people in those areas didn't want to be in a pool if a black person was in the pool. And there was this big thing, and it was all over the news, where some black people got in the pool or swimming in the pool, and the hotel owner came out and started pouring bleach in the pool as those people were in the pool. They're pouring big buckets of bleach in the pool, right? So what did Mr. Rogers do? Fred Rogers, on his next show, he did this great little scene where I believe it was the mailman. It was I think he played both the mailman and the police officer, but whatever. He had this black character on his show, and I forget the name of the character. And Mr. Rogers said, "Hey, it's hot out. Why don't you come into the backyard with me?" And they go into Mr. Rogers' backyard where he's got a little pool, a little kiddie pool set up. He said, you know what feels great? Let's just take our shoes and socks off and put our feet in the pool together. And he, in the midst of all this crap going on, he did the sweet fuck you to everybody else. And he said, you know what? I'm going to get my local police officer, or whether he was the mailman police officer, I can't remember now, who's a black man. You know what we're going to do? I'm going to invite him into my backyard. We're going to sit down. We together are going to sit back and have our feet in the pool together. That's what he did. That's what Fred Rogers did. I've often said a great movie can make you change the way you see the world. A great movie can make you change the world. A truly heaven-sent phenomenal movie will change you. A great movie changes the way you see the world. An insanely great movie changes you. And I challenge you to watch that documentary about Fred Rogers and not have it change you. It changed it. I know I walked out. I walked out of the theater. I was at the AMC Burbank 8. And I remember I staggered out of that theater, and it was at the theater, the AMC 8's in a mall. And I staggered out of the theater, and there's like a little mall bench, and I sat down on that bench for like 15 minutes. Just re-examining myself and it's just one of those movies, dudes. If you haven't seen it, God, guys, watch that documentary. It's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. Anyway, sorry I went off in that for too long. Let's see. So Mr. Rogers wins that fight. Tim Platt writes, okay, John, we often hear about the good Canadian kids, but who are some people you consider bad Canadian kids? Go ahead, John. Let the hate flow through you. Hey, listen, I'm not going to say what I was about to say. Not a lot I can think of off the top of my head. Not a lot of I can think of. Paul Bernardo is one of them. He is like the one big Canada serial killer, and his serial killing was like 3 people, I think. So there's Paul Bernardo. That's definitely one. I can't think of many others. All good Canadian kids. All good Canadian kids. All right, Ben Rayner writes, like your new breaking news videos that you've been doing. This past Gaston one was great with great cameo by Ann. Thank you so much for that, Ben. And yeah, for those of you who follow the channel, I'm going to let you know a little inside information here. Here's a little bit of an inside scoop on this, all right? For those of you who follow my channel, you notice the last couple of days, I've put up a couple of these quick, short news videos. So we did a little short one for Lucifer Season 6, and we did a little short one for the fact that they announced that they're going to do a Gaston prequel live action show on Disney Plus with Luke Evans coming back to play Gaston and Josh Gad coming back to play LeFou. And so I made these short little videos of it. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm experimenting with something. And it has to do with format. And I'm experimenting with something a little bit that might lead to me making a little bit of a change on the John Campea Show. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking. Because I haven't decided to do this. This might be a bad idea, but I'm going to tell you guys. I shouldn't be telling you guys this, but I'm going to tell this to you. This is something I'm thinking about doing for the John Campea Show. So what we do right now on the John Campea Show is we spend the first, hour doing individual news stories. And then we take live questions later. And then we chop up those individual news stories into individual segments and put those up on the YouTube channel as well for people who just want to watch one or two of those individual stories, right? What I am thinking about doing, don't panic. I'm not saying I've decided to do this. I'm just saying this is something I've been thinking about doing. I think these short little well-edited videos are more effective as standalone videos. And I've been thinking about maybe moving the John Campea Show from the morning, because we do it at 9 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time, to maybe at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then what myself and Ray and fact checker Jonathan would do was during the day, we would make, say, 4 or 5 of those short, well-edited movie news clip videos. and then put them together into one video. And then when we do the John Campea Show at, say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm just pulling a number out of my ass here. When we do the John Campea Show, intro the show, hey, everybody, talk for a minute or two, and then say, now, guys, let's get to what the movie news was. And then we play all of those individual videos that we made. And then let the viewers chime in and vote on which of those 4 or 5 stories that we have in this 15-minute news run you would like to hear me and Robert talk about more in depth once the news run is done. So maybe put up a live poll on the YouTube channel where it's like, okay, say one of the stories is this, and one of the stories is this, and one of the stories is Christian Bale as the villain in Thor 4, and then have people watching live actually be able to vote. We want to hear you, when this segment is done, we want to hear you and Robert talk more in depth about this topic and this topic. So we do those videos, and then we come out of it, whichever, like 1 or 2 of the top rated votes of the stories that comes in, those are the ones that me and Robert now spend the next 15, 20 minutes talking about more in depth. And then we go in and do live questions. So again, there might be a million problems with that idea. And again, I'm not even close to pulling the trigger on that. It's a thought that came to my mind, because then when the show's done, we've already got all these individual segments already made, and we can just upload them and people can watch them. And I think they're a little bit better, but I don't know. That's just something I'm playing with. Might be a neat little thing to shake things up a little bit, but still keep the core of what my show is, or I just keep things the way they are. I'm not really sure, but you know me, I'm always trying to think of ways to make the show better for my viewers. That's always at the center of everything that I do here on the John Campea YouTube channel. I'm always just trying to think of ways that I can make the show that my viewers will have a better experience, because you guys support me. You guys support me in this channel. So I want to do everything I can to try to make it as good of an experience for the viewers as possible. And I'm thinking that might be a way to do it. Might not be, might be. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions. Please jump into the comments section and let me know what you think about the idea. Good, bad, whatever. Just playing around with some ideas. I know change is scary for a lot of people, though. Okay, Jared McBride writes, I watched Willow last night on Disney Plus. I love that movie. Dude, Willow's a mad mod again. I love that movie. I mean, not as much as some of my friends are like psychotic Willow fans. I like Willow very much so. And they're doing this new thing coming up. They've got a new thing coming. I'm very excited for it. Fan of Peanuts writes, 1 of 2. My top 10 comic book films. Here first are my honorable mentions: X-Men 2, X-Men United, The Avengers, Winter Soldier, Deadpool, Thor 1, Age of Ultron. Then he writes, number 10, Spider-Man Homecoming. Number 9, Thor Ragnarok. Number 8, Batman Begins. Number 7, Spider-Man 2. Number 6, X-Men Days of Future Past. Number 5, Endgame. Number 4, Joker. Number 3, Civil War. Number 2, Logan. Number 1, The Dark Knight. And yeah, you got 2 of my top 3. Like, my number 1 would probably be, it is Avengers. My number 2 would probably be Logan. My number 3 would probably be Dark Knight. But man, look how good the comic book movie genre has gotten. Look at all these films. Look at all of them. They're all great. That's how good the comic book genre has gotten. We live, as Robert would say, fan of Peanuts, Robert would say, we live in glorious times filled with an embarrassment of riches. It's really, really great. All right, Iconic Reactions writes, you get a call from Will Smith saying he's back for Hancock 2, but he needs a good plot idea from you. What's your plan? Consider you family. So thanks for all you do. Well, thank you so much for that, Iconic. No, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm not the one that comes up with the stories for the movies. That because too many film fans think, oh, if you do this, that will make the movie good. And it doesn't. Look, concept is only 10% of the battle. 90% is just the execution. You can have the greatest idea in the world for a movie. It doesn't matter. If it's not executed well, it won't matter. You can have a lame concept for a movie, but if it executes well, it can be amazing. So it's all about that. So listen, I would just be happy, Iconic. I would personally just be happy just to find out they're doing one. And then I'll just trust them that whatever idea they come up with would be well executed. But I'm totally down. Like, again, I don't think it's going to happen. I think that train has already left the station. I don't think we're going to get a Hancock 2. But if we found out we were, I'd be down. I'd be totally down. Because again, I still have no idea why they didn't do one before. Patrick Conway writes, I think with Rob, I think John Krasinski will direct Fantastic Four. Wouldn't it be great? I mean, I'm down for it. I'm a fan of the idea. Why not? All right. Chris Warden writes, just watched the Inside of You podcast with Michael Rosenbaum, where he had Brandon Routh on, and he discussed his personal struggles after his career as Superman kind of fizzled out. Fascinating stuff. I love hearing like stuff like that. No, I don't like hearing that people's careers fizzled out, but I love hearing from the perspective. Because, we all just think of Michael Rosenbaum or guys like that. Oh, he was a big popular guy in a big popular show. Everything's great for him in his life. But we forget that Michael Rosenbaum's, his run as Lex Luthor was both a blessing and a curse. It was a blessing that he had millions of fans and was in a great show and all that kind of stuff. But his career really didn't go anywhere after that because I think people just identified him as Lex Luthor. And I think we don't appreciate sometimes that can be a struggle. And how do you feel about that personally, if that's actually happening to you? And I'm always fascinated by stuff like that. And you know what? I've never really gotten into Michael Rosenbaum's podcast, but I've always heard good things about it. And the fact that Brandon Routh is in there, because I love Brandon Routh, it makes me want to check it out. So thanks for putting that on my radar, Chris. I really appreciate that. Dan Peckett writes, did you watch Affleck talk about Adam Driver on Kimmel? It really warmed my heart. I did. That was just a great, fun interview. It does the heart good, Dan, to see Ben Affleck happy and healthy. It just makes my heart smile seeing Ben Affleck happy and healthy. And I hope he can stay that way. And by the way, during that interview where he talked about the Adam Driver thing, which was great, he also showed pictures about the new film him and Matt Damon are doing together, which I think looks awesome. I can't wait to see it. But yeah, it was a great story he told about Adam Driver. And again, just makes me really happy to see him happy and healthy. All right. Trevor Macy writes, saw The Way Back last night. I'm jealous. Wow, John, it's so amazing, inspiring, uplifting, emotional. Everyone, please go support this movie. Love the show. Thank you so much for that, Trevor. And yeah, listen, I have been... At first, when I heard Ben Affleck is going to play a serious alcoholic where his alcoholism has hurt his life and he's struggling with life, I thought, this feels just too close to home. I don't know if I feel comfortable with this as a viewer. As a viewer, this feels like kind of, ugh. But the closer we got to, I started thinking, you know what? Maybe this will be really cathartic, not just for Ben Affleck himself, but maybe even as a fan of Ben Affleck. It'll be cathartic seeing him on screen wrestling with this stuff. And then Ben himself came out and said it was a really cathartic experience and loved it. And then I saw the trailers, and I think the trailers look great, and I wanted to see it last night. But anyway, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Trevor. I can't wait to see it. Tim Platt writes, have you managed to catch any of the XFL yet? If so, what are your thoughts? Yes, I have. And you know what? I got to say I like it. I really do like some of the rule differences too. Now, look, it's clearly these are guys who can't play in the NFL anymore. A lot of like like blooper plays. But overall, you know what? Not bad. Actually, me and my buddy Sol, my buddy Ryan were over here a couple weeks back, and we had a few hours to kill in the afternoon because we were all going out in the evening, and we popped on some XFL. And you know what? I don't know if it's going to survive, but I kind of dug it. All right, Mike Thompson writes, so many lights. No wonder you used to wear those Gunner glasses. I still do. By the way, like these are a Gunner type of glasses. These ones I wear. I right today I've got, I don't know, I probably should have been wearing them today. These, I don't need prescription glasses. These are just, instead of the yellow lenses, these are clear lenses, but they still do the same filtering. The problem for me though isn't the lights. Let me see if I can bring this up again. The thing that gives me the headaches and the eye strain isn't the lights. What gives me the headaches and the eye strain is, let me see. Yeah, what gives me the headaches and the eye strain isn't the lights, isn't lights and stuff like that. What gives me the eye strain is monitor 1, monitor 2, monitor 3, monitor 4. It's all these monitors that are all set up that with the harsh monitor light that comes off. That what I started finding a few years ago was that whenever I was done a show that I was doing solo, I would have like eye fatigue and a little bit of a headache and stuff like that. And then somebody suggested these Gunner glasses to me that are supposedly supposed to filter out a certain UV light that comes from things that, and all I know, some people say they work, some people say they don't. All I know is that when I wear those things, I don't have any problems. I mean, when I wear them, I don't have any problems. And so I've just kept wearing them. So every once in a while, I try to get through a show without wearing them because I don't like wearing them. But they do help me. They do help me. So yeah, there you go. All right. Suthius writes, being interviewed by Neil deGrasse Tyson, Terry Crews told about his upbringing. His mother was very religious, meaning no movies, no music, no sports, etc. It wasn't until his aunt who took him to see Star Wars, which then capitulated his geekiness. You know what's funny too? Like, I know a lot, because I used to travel in those circles. I know a lot of very religious people that are also some of the biggest fans of movies, television, and sports. Like, honestly, one of the biggest movie geeks I know, and a guy who used to do my old movie blog podcast with me, his name's Bruxy Cavey. And Bruxy is like the lead pastor of like it's either the biggest church in Canada or one of the biggest churches in Canada. Anyway, he's this long-haired philosophy hippie dude. I mean, but he's brilliant, and he's like one of the best guys I know. But Bruxy, besides being this big evangelical preacher, he's written several major books and all this kind of stuff, and he's one of the biggest movie geeks I know. One of the biggest movie geeks I know. And he even did my movie podcast with me when I was back doing the movie blog stuff. So I know some very religious people who are like, no, we can't watch movies and blah, blah, blah. But I know a lot of religious people that are like, are you kidding us? God gave us creativity. Movies are awesome. And he's one of the biggest movie geeks I know. So it's really weird. But man, let me tell you something. I've had a chance to sit down and talk with Terry Crews a couple of times. That dude is he lights up a room. I'm serious. Whenever I would walk into a room that he was in, woo, everything just felt better. He just lights up a room with an energy and a whatever. He's just a really, really, I would always love when I would have a chance to go and sit down and interview him. All right. Just a couple more questions here, guys, and we're going to have to wrap up today because I got to get moving here. J Master writes, 1 of 3. Hey, John. I just saw Onward 2 times already. Nice. I really love it. Also, I cry and laugh. It's really emotional and one of the funniest movies of Pixar. Also, have you checked out the new series on Disney Plus, Shop Class? It's hosted by Justin Long? I love Justin Long. The series is 44 minutes long. The show, it's about a competition between 3 teams. I have never even heard of it. So no, I have not, and I got to check it out. I remember back in the day, back in early movie blog days, there were 2 young actors that I said, guys, keep your eyes on these 2 young actors because I guarantee you, in a few years, they're going to be huge A-list stars. One was a guy by the name of James Franco. And sure enough, he did go on to become a big A-list star. The other, I said, was Justin Long. Now, granted, he has not broken out to become a big A-list star. I love this guy, though. Of course, he was in one of my favorite little horror movies of all time, Jeepers Creepers. He's great. Then he was in Galaxy Quest, which he was great in. But all these other things I see him pop up in after that, he was Dodgeball. Then he was in New Girl with a recurring role on New Girl, and he did that romantic comedy with Drew Barrymore. And I've always, not that I've loved everything he's appeared in, but I've always loved him. I love Justin Long. I think he's great. And if he's got a new show on Disney Plus that I didn't even hear of, J Master, I got to go check it out. So thank you so much for putting that on my radar. I'm going to have to go check that out. All right. Mike Thompson writes, but John, why did you hate Onward? Exactly. Well spoken. Right to the point, Mike. Right to the point. All right, J Master. Oh, now 3 of 3. Also, The Simpsons are on Disney Plus since it launched on November 12th. Yeah. And by the way, we all know The Simpsons is over there, but in front of Onward is not a Pixar short film, a Simpsons short film. And it's delightful. It's really good. I was just grinning the whole time watching it. If you get a chance, it's about Maggie. Watch it. It's great. It's one of the best Simpsons things I've seen in a long time. All right, Suthius writes, Clooney will greet Spidey the same way he greeted Freeze. I can't remember what he says to Freeze. Hi, Freeze, I'm Batman. I can't remember what he says. I tried to put that movie out of my memory. Trevor Macy writes, did you see the UFC press conference with Khabib and Ferguson? I didn't realize how much they hated each other. Khabib kicked Ferguson belt off stage. Yeah, well, remember, I believe, I might be wrong. I believe they have had fights arranged 3 times before this one. This is before Khabib became champion. And every time Ferguson backed out for a medical reason, this or some other reason that. But 3 different times Ferguson had to back out. Listen, Ferguson might win that fight because in UFC, anybody can beat anybody with the right punch, right? Everybody's got a puncher's chance in the UFC. But Khabib is the baddest man on the planet. It will take a fluke. And flukes happen. Flukes happen. Flukes happen all the time. So Ferguson could win, but that's what it will take. It will take a fluke. Because Khabib is absolutely the baddest man on the planet, and Ferguson's about to find that out. And Ferguson already knows it. Ferguson knows it. Andres Moran writes, every time I feel down, I watch your review of Won't You Be My Neighbor. So that is the Won't You Be My Neighbor. The passion you showed in that review inspires me the way I cannot describe. Thanks. Well, and you know what, Andres? It was the movie that inspires that passion. It's such a powerful movie. I've run out of ways to describe it. You know, it's just, again, great movies will make the way you change the world. The best movies will change you. And it's a movie that just changes you. It's incredible. So I hope you had a chance. Don't just watch my review of it, buddy. Make sure you go and watch the movie yourself. Thank you for the kind words. All right. Samuli writes, are you a fan of Peaky Blinders? I'm actually not. I was very excited about the show. Everybody told me how great it was. I went and watched like the first 3 or 4 episodes and then I tapped out. I didn't hate it. But it just didn't hook me the way it hooks a lot of other people. So, and there was so much other television that I wanted to watch. And so, yeah, I don't hate Peaky Blinders, but no, I'm not one of the fans. Yamir Scott writes, learn the craft of filmmaking without film school. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there are people who have learned to become filmmakers without film school, but if you want to really do filmmaking, then film school will help you. And it's a good thing. And look, it doesn't have to be the way it happens. There are people who've made it big in film school without going to film school, or made it big in film without going to film school. Sure. But I don't know. Like, if I was a studio guy and I was looking to hire filmmakers, I would look for people who went to film school because those people clearly take it more seriously. And they believe in making sacrifices and doing what you need to do to really chase your goals and you want to do. See, somebody who's gone to school for it tells me that you know that you are willing to do whatever it takes and you're willing to make the sacrifices and put in the time to achieve the things you want to achieve. It doesn't have to be that way. But I'm telling you something, if I was a filmmaker, so when I hire people, whether I was at AMC or other companies, I would look to see for education. It wasn't the most important thing, but it's like, wow, this person, you know, like when I hired, what was her first name? I feel bad. I'm forgetting her first name. Martinez. When I hired, but I'm forgetting her first name. Was it Natalie? I feel so bad. I'm forgetting her first name now. But anyway, when I hired her at AMC, that then became Complex and Collider. The thing was, you look at her resume. She had like 2 different journalism degrees. She went and worked in an internship at this television network. She did all these things. She did on-camera reporting, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, this is somebody who really takes this seriously. And hired her. And that's kind of what I look for. So you can do it without film school, but it's always good if you can. All right. Andres Moran writes, 1 of 2. After my divorce, I was in a dark place. One day while watching your show, I heard you say one simple phrase from Castaway that helped me move on. I know what I have to do now. I've got to keep breathing because tomorrow the sun will rise. Who knows what the tide could bring in? Thank you for that. That to me, Andres, is one of the most inspirational, amazing moments in a movie I've ever seen. So for those of you who haven't seen Castaway, in the movie, Tom Hanks, he's a castaway. He's on this desert island, but he went down in a FedEx plane. And every once in a while, old packages would wash up on the shore. And then every once in a while, in one of those packages would be something that he could use to help him survive. Near the end of the movie, he's now been saved. He's back in civilization. And he's talking to a friend about his experience. And something along those lines, but how did you make it? How did you survive that? And he said, I just learned that I've just got to keep breathing. Because tomorrow the sun will rise and who knows what the tide will bring in. And I remember I saw that movie shortly after somebody I knew had committed suicide. And I remember watching that movie and being done and saying, God, I wish that I could have shown. That's because one of the things that I've learned in life, lesson one that a lot of us have learned, it doesn't matter how good things seem today, something can go very wrong tomorrow, right? We've all learned that lesson. We all know that. No matter how great life seems today, something can go very wrong tomorrow. We've all learned that lesson. But I think the other lesson that we don't pay enough attention to is no matter how bad things and how hopeless things seem today, something good could happen tomorrow. We know the opposite. No matter how good things are, something really bad could happen tomorrow, and we're all aware of that. But I also think we don't take in consideration the opposite. No matter how dark, no matter how bleak, no matter how bad, no matter how depressing things seem today, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You never know what might wash in on the tide tomorrow. Because I've been in those places. I've been in those places where something seemed really bad and what am I going to do and blah, blah, and everything. And then tomorrow something happens that I completely wasn't expecting, that came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden things seem different. We know the negative lesson. I think we need to hold on to that positive one too. And I'm glad that movie was there for you, and because I know it's been there for me too. And just keep breathing, because tomorrow the sun will rise and you never know what the tide might bring in. And I'm glad you learned that lesson, Andres. And one of the power of movies and storytelling, man. One of the powers of movies and storytelling. All right, guys. We've been going for almost 2.5 hours now. Last question of the day comes to us from Josie Reviews, who writes, have you seen Spencer Confidential on Netflix? I have not. I have not had a chance to see that. I probably won't have a chance to see that. I mean, I maybe at some point I'll sit down and watch it, but no, I haven't had a chance to see it yet. I've seen that it's out though. Andres Moran, last question, guys. You just slipped one in there under the radar. By the way, I've seen both Won't You Be My Neighbor and Castaway, but some things hit you differently depending on your state of mind. Keep on the field. That's totally true. You can watch a movie 1 year and like, wow, yeah, I really appreciate it. But then you can watch it a few years later when you're in a different place in life, and all of a sudden, this is one of the other great things about movies. All of a sudden, that movie can take on a whole new meaning for you, depending on where you're at, right? I love that about movies, Andres. I love that about movies. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you guys so much for being here and doing me the honor of making this a part of your day. May you guys have a wonderful and glorious weekend ahead of you guys, preparing yourselves for a great week of victory come Monday. And thank you to everybody for sending in the questions, not just because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but you also supported the channel as you're doing it. These shows are able to be here because of our Patreon supporters, because of you guys sending in questions, and all of us here on the John Campea YouTube channel. Thank you very, very much for that. All right, guys, that will do it for me for today's show. Thanks a lot for being here. My name, of course, is John Campea, and until next time, guys, bye-bye.